Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Instant Replay, where we take a look at games that have either been forgotten or games that are really somewhat unknown to us nowadays. The 90s. Who can forget the bad haircut, questionable fashion sense, and mobile phones comparable in size to a small dog? Despite all this, the 1990s were a pretty cool time to be growing up as a kid. The Super Nintendo Entertainment System and Sega Mega Drive, the Genesis is known to you North American viewers, were locked in an epic battle for video game domination, and portable gaming was now an everyday thing, as players could pick up a Game Boy or Game Gear and take their beloved games with them on that dreaded trip to their relatives, provided they had enough batteries, of course. But this wasn't just a golden age of gaming. Many other media were flourishing too. In particular, kids' cartoons had really come a long way, and the mid to late 80s saw a slew of hit shows such as Transformers, Mars, Care Bears, G.I. Joe, and my personal favourite, My Little Pony. But although these shows were great, none of them came remotely close to the now legendary Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which initially began in 1987 and ran for a whopping 10 seasons. If you were a 90s kid and you didn't like Turtles, then you clearly had something wrong with you. It was awesome beyond measure. As with any global craze, the sheer amount of Turtles merchandise was insane. The video game publisher and developer Konami, Metal Gear Solid and Castlevania fame, managed to get their hands on the rights to the franchise, and thank heaven. Despite the company's Turtle games on the NES being a mixture of average to good, not to mention one of them earning the blame of the angry video game nerd decades to come, Konami really set the standard with its coin-up arcade rendition, simply called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The game was so popular and positively received that the company used this gameplay template for one of its future Turtle titles. And this is how Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4 Turtles in Time was born. Released in 1992, it was a welcome addition to the SNES repertoire. Now, it might seem a little odd for us to include Turtles in Time in our Instant Replay segment. After all, it was a very popular game at the time, and it's still remembered today. Heck, it even got a remake for PSN and Xbox Live. Nevertheless, I feel this title doesn't get the attention it truly deserves, with most praise going to similar games such as Streets of Rage. So what's Turtles in Time all about? Well, the evil Shredder is up to no good once again, and we see in a news report at the beginning of the game that his sidekick Krang has swooped in out of nowhere and stolen the Statue of Liberty. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure why he did that either. Anyhow, it's enough to tick off the Turtles, who set off on an adventure to reclaim New York's most popular tourist attraction. What they don't realise is that the whole thing is a trap, and before they know it, the Turtles have vanished to a time warp. In order to get back to the present day in time for pizza, the Turtles must fight their way through various periods and defeat Shredder and Co. once and for all. Turtles in Time is a hack-and-slash game where up to two people can beat up the Foot Clan together. What makes this game so great is how surprisingly intricate it can be. For example, although the basic control setup is pretty simple, using Y to attack, B to jump, and Y and B together to do a special attack, there are in fact lots of nifty little tricks, like running flips that can be transformed into a slide attack, and cool aerial kicks that have more distance than your standard jump attack. The SNES's graphical prowess is fully utilised to make Turtles in Time a truly wonderful experience. The backgrounds are interactive, and there's a pseudo 3D effect that really makes it look like you're able to move in 3 dimensions. One of the coolest things is all thanks to the SNES's Mode 7 feature, where sometimes your turtle will launch foot soldiers towards the screen using this neat flip attack. It's a game that really shows what the SNES was capable of. Just look at this level and stare in awe. Konami truly did a great job. Speaking of attack animations, everything is in keeping with the whole Turtles style. Although it's ultimately violent, there's a slapstick nature so the game, much like the TV show, doesn't take itself too seriously. The game also features all the classic Turtle enemies you'd expect to see. There's Baxter Stockman, the Rat King, Rocksteady and Bebop, as well as a whole cast of standard enemies, ranging from foot soldiers to rock warriors. Interestingly, the Foot Clan has a lot of weapons at their disposal. One minute they'll try to take you down with just their fists, whereas the next they're throwing scissors or these weird spiky frisbees. Although they're the most common enemy, the perfect mixture of different types of these makes the combat rather challenging in some instances. The toughest enemy though has to be Slash. You know, that really ugly turtle that seems to have a massive problem with the Turtles? You can only hit him from behind, but actually being able to do this is more or less impossible. Turtles in Time contains an excellent soundtrack. The tunes are catchy, and there's even a bit of voice work in there. Much like the graphics, the sound is very much in keeping with the Turtles' ethos. Nevertheless, that's not to say that Konami didn't go beyond the creative limitations you'd expect from a video game based on a TV show. In fact, many of the time travel levels consist of superbly mixed background music which evoke the time period in question, but still in keeping with the game's action-packed nature. The game is a little on the short side, which is to be expected for an arcade-style game, and even on the hardest difficulty setting, Turtles is still pretty easy to play through. But like I said earlier, there are a few moments which do get tough, none of the worst being the final battle with Super Shredder. Finding an opening is anything but easy when fighting this guy, not to mention that one of his attacks can actually kill you in one hit. However, this isn't hard because it's unfair in any way, it's just one of those things where you have to be careful not to make a bad move, or else you are going to end up like Turtle Soup. In brief, Turtles in Time is a wonderful game because it gets so many things right. For a game of its age, it is surprisingly intricate in many ways. It gets the most important element right from the start. The gameplay is fun. Visually speaking, it shows what the SNES is capable of, transferring the cartoon aesthetics across into 16-bit form flawlessly. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles still exists today, although it is in no way as popular as it used to be. It's remembered for being a classic cartoon that brought a lot of happiness to kids, and a lot of woe to parents who had to fork out a wad of cash for all the action figures, videos, and other merchandise. There's been a few bad moments, and one which springs to my mind was the terrible third Turtles movie. Nevertheless, Turtles in Time was a high point for the franchise, an example of how some retro games, despite the basic technology at the time, were flawlessly designed to provide a worthwhile gaming experience. In short, Turtles in Time is a hero and a half shell. So that's it for this installment of Bits and Bytes Gaming Instant Replay. Join us next time when we'll be taking a look at the classic SNES game Platform. I'm Martin Watts, and I've been your host for this week's Instant Replay. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.